Kit Kats can read. Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be bringing you a non-spoiler book review on City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare. But I'm going to do the first half as non-spoiler, and then the second half is going to be more into a few spoilers into this book. So if you have read this book, then that'll be where you guys can slip into just to see my thoughts on some bits in the story, because it is a book that's in a series. So this is book number 4, and it's in the Mortal Instruments series. And if you don't know what this series is about, you've been living under a rock, because it is one of the well-known series of the whole book world, of the young adult book world. And it's basically about these beings called shadow hunters, who are like half angels, half human. And one day this girl called Clary, she ends up seeing these shadow hunters, and she sort of learns about herself, learns that she is one, and learns that there are beings like werewolves and vampires who are listed as downworlders, as well as warlocks. And it's just into a paranormal fantasy sort of world. Her mother goes missing, and so she embarks upon this adventure to try and find her mother. She's learning more about herself as a person, as well as the shadow hunter world, and her training to be a better shadow hunter. And it's a really epic, fantastic book series, and as a whole I love Cassandra Clare's writing style. There are very few authors that I read their books where I feel really drawn into their books because of their writing, and her books aren't exactly thin. Like, they're from like 400 pages plus, and yet I flow through her books so easily. And also her chapters aren't exactly like short, they're from like 25 to 30 pages long sometimes, and I just fly through the chapters. And this is like one of her big book editions, it's the tall one, whereas like a normal paperback is like, I'd say like this size, like where my fingers here. So the pages are longer in this edition that I've got, but I'm flying through it. And I love all the covers to these books, these book editions that she's done, and it shows you on the back. So this is the Margaret K. McElderry imprint, if you guys would like to know, and it's got metallic, and it's the hard covers, and I really like it because they just sit open wherever you read, and they just stay open, and that's just what I like about them. So with the characters in this book, you have Clary, you have Jace Wayland, and in this book Jace is being a little bit more withdrawn and sort of like hidden because of something that happened in the previous book. And then we have Alec, who he's just sort of being a little bit childish in this book. And then we've got Isabel, who's still pretty kick-ass. I really like it, Isabel. Like, she's sort of like a punky, funky sort of girl. And then we have Simon, and I really like Simon as well. Simon is Clary's best friend, and he is in this book as well. He's got a really major part in this book, and I really liked that. And then we also have Maya, who is a werewolf, and she's a really sort of tomboy werewolf. She's really cool. And then we've got Jordan, who's also a werewolf. And then we've got Magnus Bane, who's a warlock, and he is always one of my favourite characters, definitely. But I have to say, in this book I didn't have any character that jumped out that I was like, whoa, this character is my favourite book of the book. I really liked all of them as a whole. But my least favourite in this book probably had to be Alec, if I'm honest, just because he was a little bit childish in this book, like how he behaved at some point in this book. So the story of this book, I thought it was quite fillerish, like, because originally it was only going to be a trilogy, and so it's quite sort of slow getting into the actual storyline. But I kind of liked that. I really like slow pacings of series sometimes, just sort of like getting into their backstories, and there's little mini side story elements in that sort of part of it. And the main action sort of like happens, I would say, like between like half to 3/4 is sort of where it teeters and begins, and then it sort of goes up and up and up and up, and then like here with the end, because it ends on a big cliffhanger. And I've reread this book before, but I don't remember rereading it, if that makes sense. I don't remember what happens in this book, but luckily because of the TV show, where like the latest part of the TV show is in this book, so it really sort of helped me to jog my memory of this book. But I really liked reading all the same because there are some sort of differences from the TV show that are in this book, and I really liked that as well. And I really liked Clary in this book too. I thought she was really good. And yes, there is romance in the book, and there's family, there's a wedding that's happening in this book, and yeah, I just thought it was really, really good. So all in all, guys, I would have to say I gave this 5 out of 5 Kit Kats. I think the first time reading it I gave it 4.5, but this time I actually really appreciated it a bit more and ended up really enjoying it a bit more. So 5 out of 5 Kit Kats for this. If you have read this book and you would like to stay for the spoiler part of this video, then you can continue now. But if you haven't read this book, then I will say goodbye to you guys from now, and please pick up this series and give this book a read, and then when you finally have got around to reading this, then you can watch my spoilery section. But I hope you guys are going to have a fantastic day, and I'll see all of you guys soon. So welcome to all of you guys that have read this book, and now I can actually talk about the storyline of this book. So basically the mortal war is over. Clary Frey is now back home and she's excited about all of the possibilities before her. She is training to be a better shadow hunter and to using her new unique power. However, from the previous book, we are aware that she brought Jace back from the dead, and because of this, Jace is sort of acting really withdrawn and really different, and Clary is noticing this and she is really worried. So we have this wedding that's going on between Clary's mother and Luke, who is the werewolf, and this whole big old wedding planner thing is happening, so that's like a really sort of exciting thing as well. And then someone is starting to murder shadow hunters, so one by one they are disappearing, and then we also meet Camille again, who is sort of like this badass vampire, which I thought. And I really liked all of these small little side stories that were happening, like meeting Camille again, and then Raphael came back in for a little bit, and then there's this little story between Simon, Maya and Isabel, his little three-way romance that blew up out of explosion. And also we have Jordan who's come back, who, you know, Jordan and Maya have their own little thing going on. And then there's Alec and Magnus and their little relationship, and Alec was so childish in this, like just how he was behaving around Magnus Bane, like with their relationship. It was a little bit petty and childish. However, I could kind of understand like why he was being like it, because obviously of his feelings towards Magnus Bane. He was like, I love you so much that what happens when I die? Will you move on? And like what like he wanted to know more about his past lovers rather than focusing on the present, which, you know, some people do. So it is a normal thing, but he was just like my least favourite sort of character in this, just because of how he was behaving. But he sort of like ends up being better in the end of the book, which is what I really liked. We then have the Greater Demon, who ends up coming near the end of the book, and it's a big old whoa out of the blue, because you sort of don't think who is killing these shadow hunters. You think it's Camille, and you don't know like who it is, and then it ends up being this Greater Demon, and this Greater Demon wants Simon and Jace, and then she wants Clary, because Clary is the one that will bring Jace and Simon into her, because she wants to bring back Sebastian. And I thought it was like a really sort of like great twist in the book, and just how Jace is being controlled. And I really like in the TV show how Jace is being controlled. I really liked how they dealt about that. They made a real big few episodes of him being controlled, and the big reveal of like of the controlled person and that sort of thing, and yeah, it was really good. So it just sort of really sort of interested me like in the storyline with that. And then also the ending where Jace can't control his body or his actions, and he's trying not to, and then he ends up like sharing his blood along with Sebastian's blood, and then Sebastian is now like da da da, he is revealed, and that is the end. So that leaves me really excited to see what the Sea of Lost Souls entails, because I cannot remember reading that book just the same as this one. So it would be really, really good for me to give that a reread as well. But I'm reading it in order of publication because they do make sense, because in this book William Herondale is mentioned. So it was good that I read it after reading Clockwork Angel, where I meet Will and Jem and Emma and that sort of thing. And rereading this, like after reading that, I'm just sort of like, I know who Will is. So I'm looking forward to reading Clockwork Prince, just to see what happens in that book. But I am very, very excited all the same. So that is going to be the end of my spoilery section. What did you guys think about this book when you read it? What was your favourite part? What was your least favourite part? If I had to give a favourite part, I know it sounds silly, but I probably actually would have to say like the big reveal between Simon, Maya and Isabel, when they all found out that Simon was kind of like two-timing. I found that really, really funny. But this is why I liked like all of the little side bits of the story, because there's all sort of like mini things happening as well as this main storyline of these shadow hunters being killed. And that's why I actually really enjoyed the book. And like I say, I do really enjoy Cassandra Clare's writing style, and the fact that I can just fly through her books really easily without thinking that they're over 400 pages. So that's it from this month's spoilery section. If there's anything else you would like to know about my thoughts with this book, then do let me know down below in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, especially in private, so that I don't spoil anybody. I can message you in private any of my thoughts, sort of thing. But have you guys read The Infernal Devices? Are you guys up to date in the Mortal Instruments series? Let me know down below. Let me know your favourite book in this series. But that's it from me. Keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy. And I will see all of you wonderful, awesome people in my next video. Bye!